Hello everybody and welcome to another live recipe with me, Chef Day from the Vegan Chef School. So, as some of you may be aware, we do these Facebook live recipes every single day and we are trying to improve it as much as we can, lesson by lesson, week by week. So we are trying out a few different things recently, so please do let us know if we can tweak things a little bit, because really the idea is that you guys can hear and see us really well. So if there are ever any issues, then just let us know about that. So I am going to make sure that I can see myself. There we go. And so I can see your comments as well. So let me say hello to anybody who has already joined us. And I can see Justine. Justine, I think you're cooking along with us today. Let me know if that is right. And so with this week, what we've been doing is we have been trying to, well, we haven't tried, we actually have managed to share the ingredients and the equipment list with you guys beforehand. So we will continue to aim to do that. I'll just say hello to a few more people who have joined. So Colleen and Gloria, thank you for joining us. Jenny, welcome. So a few people already joining, but as I said, do let me know, or with the other chefs, whoever it is the chef for the day, it's really, really great if we know if you guys are cooking along with us, because sometimes when we're presenting a recipe, we might go through things like a little bit quicker if we don't think people are cooking along. So it's really, really good for us to know if you guys are cooking along. Colleen said, I love the sweet little bird under the rainbow. Is he handcuffed? Colleen did it again. Straight in there. So underneath my rainbow today, I usually I draw something that's going to go underneath the rainbow, but I didn't today because I just wanted to show off this little cute little thing that I bought from a charity shop. So there's a really great charity shop in Horsham called Horsham Matters, and all of the money that they get from the shop, it goes to food banks and helping people in the local area who don't have as much money as we do. And so this is my little bird. I love him. He reminds me of, there was like a Clockwork Owl in a kids TV program or a kids film when I was young. I can't remember which one it was. Might have been Jason and the Argonauts. Oh my god, does anybody remember that film? I absolutely love that film, Jason and the Argonauts, with Medusa and stuff. I think that there was a Clockwork Owl in that, so it always reminds me of that. I watched that film so many times. Anyway, let's stop talking about food, really. That's why we're all here. That is why we're all here. So we'll just pop little birdie back up there underneath his little rainbow. Oh, Anthony said Clash of the Titans. There we go. And Doug said there was one in Bagpuss as well. Okay. So Colleen says, I love him. We are going to have to give him a name. He doesn't have a name. He doesn't. I don't even know if it's a he. It might not be. I don't know. Oh, and Jeff said a Bagpuss as well. But wasn't there a Clockwork Owl in Clash of the Titans? Or was it Jason the Argonauts? Whatever. Anyway, I'm going to have to look at that later and watch one of those films from your childhood that you get so hyped up about, and then you watch it and you're like, oh, the effects are pretty rubbish. It's not very believable, but it was really believable when you were 5. Anyway, right, okay. So lots of lovely people coming into the room. Louisa, thank you so much for being admin today. Paul, welcome. Khan, happy to have you back. So do I come up with ricotta puns today? If you want to, we've got ricotta puns, cheesecake puns. We've just had a bird on the show, so you could do some bird puns. There's quite a lot of material there. So we are holding out for us launching Facebook Live stand up with Khan. Okay, that's happening. That is happening. But all of the jokes vegan foodie related. Okay, so they're your parameters, Khan. Okay, so we've got quite a few people in the room now. Let me just say hello to everybody. So Mark, welcome back. Who else have we got? Karen, hello. And Michelle. Michelle says she loves cheesecake. I love cheesecake too. I love cheesecake. Okay, so before we get started today, I wanted to show you guys something because I've been working hard on this. So this is our website, and I've been working on the recipe section. So we have absolutely tons of recipes on our website. There's maybe about 200 or something like that, but it's not that obvious whereabouts they are. So I've been, playing around with it over the last couple of days and just trying to make it a lot easier for you guys to find recipes. So if you go to the Vegan Chef School, so it's just theveganchefschool.com, and then you go to recipes, which is there, and then you'll come to this page. And so you can just click on these little tabs and you will be taken to that section. And as I said, there's about 200 recipes on the site. So some of them have live recipes, and if you want to see the ones with us doing our Facebook Lives at the same time, then they'll be in this tab here. But you can just go down here and you'll see lots of our lovely faces. There's Jeff. Yeah, so lots of our live recipes here. And I am in the process of adding more of those to the site. We've only got the first month up here. So, but we've got lots of these recipes that don't actually have live recipes to go along with them. So we've got breakfasts, we've got lots of desserts. Some of you will remember some of these, like the bunny cake. There's the bunny here, who is very, very cute. And that was for Easter. And then we've got our salad recipes, our mains. And there are literally like tons. Absolutely tons of recipes in here, guys. There we go. Really quite a lot. So, good for you guys to go and have a look at. And then you might find something that you find interesting. There we go. So, please do check that out. Just bring you back up to the top here and see where we're going. So, it's just in the Vegan Chef School. Go over here to recipes, and then you'll get to this page. And then you can find lots of different recipes. There we go. So you don't just have to wait for this one recipe that we're going to show you each day. No, we've got loads of recipes. We've got you covered, basically. So on to our recipe for today. So we are making a baked cheesecake. So you guys, okay, so maybe a few of you might remember. I don't know who was there like right at the start. Sorry, let me just make sure I can see all your comments here, because I can't see any of your comments and I want to see your comments. There we go, there you are. Okay, right, I can see. Oh, there's a few newbies. Okay, Mark's is his first time here. Welcome. And if it is your first time, then please do say hello to us. We're a really friendly bunch. Honest. We are. Okay, so as I was saying, if any of you guys were there right at the very start, I think maybe my second live recipe during the whole lockdown thing was emergency desserts. Today's recipe is about as far away from emergency desserts as you can get. It's like emergency desserts are like down here, and cheesecake is like out the window. This takes a long time. It does take a long time. So, we've got the actual making of it. We've got the base to make, we've got the cream to make, we've got the top to make. Yeah, that's, doesn't take that much time. But then it's got to go in the oven mine took around 90 minutes. It took around 90 minutes. So I have put at the bottom there how long it takes. The oven temperature that it needs to be at: 140 degrees Celsius, 280 degrees Fahrenheit, gas mark 1. And mine did take around 90 minutes. Okay, so about an hour and a half to bake, and then you let it cool down, and then you still can't eat it then. I know. You still can't eat it. You've gone to all of this effort, you've waited all of that time, still can't eat it. Then once it's cooled down a bit, then it has to go into the fridge overnight. Seriously, this is like such a high maintenance dessert. Is it worth it? It's really worth it. It is really, really worth it. Okay, right. Oh, Jane, thank you for popping your hand up another first timer. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And Vera, welcome to the group. You are from Cape in South Africa. From the Cape in South Africa. Okay, I did actually spend a little bit of time in South Africa, living with 500 monkeys. Would you believe? It was a regular occurrence that I would find monkeys in my kitchen. True story. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Now let's get started with this. So the first thing that we will have to do is make our base. So quite often with a cheesecake, you have biscuits on the base. But I want to do something a little bit different. So we're going to use cornflakes instead. So these are, let's just bring you guys back to this view. There we go. So we've got our cornflakes here, and these are just like a sugar-free cornflake that I like to use. It's gluten-free as well. It's gluten-free as well. So, you know, that's good for me because I am gluten-free. And then for the base, we also have 1 tablespoon of sugar. But guys, today I'm going to give you lots and lots of different substitutions so that this can be a bit more of a flexible recipe for you guys. So I'm going to use coconut sugar today, but you don't have to. You can use any sugar that you feel comfortable using, or indeed syrup. That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. So actually on here today, what I have put is, you know, all of the different substitutions that you can have, because when I was going through all of the ingredients to add to our list of ingredients here, it doesn't get old. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But like in a year's time, I'm still going to be making jokes about that for myself. And so if you want to laugh along, it's fine. If you don't, then that's also cool because I'm quite happy just amusing myself. Anyway, so as you'll see in this ingredients list, we have not only a waving lemon. Every kitchen must have one. But we also have lots of substitutions there. So we've got, you can have cornflakes or biscuits. And then we've got our sugar there, so you know you can use any sugar that you want. And then we've got an oil which is going to hold all of that base together. Now I have seen in so many cheesecake recipes where you crush up biscuits and then you put them with vegan margarine. Most vegan margarine doesn't hold together too well. It doesn't get solid. It just doesn't get solid. There are a few brands out there that do, but the majority of them are quite bendy and they don't get solid like butter does. And I feel like quite a lot of those authors might just be taking like a regular cheesecake that isn't vegan and then just trying to translate it and not really testing it out properly. So you either need something, you need a vegan margarine that does get hard, does get solid, and I think Danielle, she uses one I think called Tomor that does get solid, or you need something like, so this is refined coconut oil. This doesn't have any coconut flavour, no coconut smell, so that isn't going to change our recipe, which is great, but it gets solid when it cools down, when it's in the fridge, which is what we want. And you can see that because you can see it's solid. So you could also use cacao butter. Cacao butter I think is a really, really great ingredient, a bit on the expensive side, but a little bit goes a long way. But again, it solidifies when it's chilled, which is what we want. And then the other option, which is probably a bit more, well actually it's a lot more accessible than the coconut oil or the cacao butter, is chocolate. So chocolate will, because it's got the cacao butter inside it, it will harden when you put it in the fridge, basically. So you could just use that and add a bit of chocolatiness to your dessert, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if you can also get it, maybe a white chocolate, a vegan white chocolate would work really, really well with this recipe also. Okay, so let me just see if we've got any comments here, because I need to get back to you guys. I love all your comments and I love all your puns as well. It really, really makes me giggle and completely distracts me from making a recipe, but that's fine. This is what it's all about. Okay, right, okay, so we've got Jenny says, wow, this should be called test of willpower, having to wait so long before eating. Yeah, I think that this this is a really, really good test of willpower, definitely, with this one. George says, an ingredient search function on the recipe section would be good, would be absolutely wonderful. If I want to make something with chickpeas, it would be great to know what my options are. That's a really, really good point. So George is just bringing us back to the recipe section on our website. So we did actually have at the bottom a big tag cloud, and it would have lots of different lists of ingredients, basically. So chickpeas, as you said, or tofu, asparagus, tomatoes, blah blah blah, and you could just click on it, and then you could see all of the recipes that we had with those ingredients in it. But the thing is that the tag cloud, I didn't really like the functionality of it, so that's going to be next on our list to create our very own tag cloud. So eventually you will be able to do that, because I think that that's a really, really good function. Okay. Raj says, does the chocolate change the taste of the entire recipe since it's a little bitter? Depends what chocolate you use. It really depends what chocolate you use. You could use something that's just like 50% cocoa, and then it's not going to be too bitter. But I would say, like, if you can't find either coconut oil, a margarine that actually goes hard, or cacao butter, then that is your next option, really. That is your next option. Right, okay, let's go back to our view here, and I'll keep talking you through the different substitutions that we can use. Okay, so we've got our bits and pieces over here for our base, and then for our inside, we're going to be making a ricotta. So we've got 1 litre of soy milk here with 2 tablespoons of, I'm using apple cider vinegar. You guys can use any type of light vinegar. So there is flexibility with that. And then we've got some Tofutti vegan cream cheese here. So you will need to get hold of a vegan cream cheese, not one that is flavoured with garlic or chives, please, just a plain one. And then we have some icing sugar here, or powdered sugar. You can also use syrup, but don't use a grainy, heavy sugar, because we want something that's light and fine, is going to mix in really, really well with everything. Okay, so that's our powdered sugar here. And then we have our aquafaba. So we've got 180 mils of that, which is 12 tablespoons, which is actually, that's the amount of aquafaba that comes out of a can, which, thereabouts, which is really, really handy. And then we have 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, also known in the UK as corn flour, but in the US it's known as corn starch. So it's the one that thickens. That's what we need. And then here I have some lemon zest, and it's in this little Tupperware because I froze it. So my lemons were starting to look like, they were on the turn. And so I just popped the lemon zest in here and, had the juice in a drink or whatever. In fact, it was probably gin and tonic. So, and then made sure that I kept the zest, and I froze it. So that's a really, really good tip, something that Nikki mentioned in one of her shows a few weeks ago, because, using the zest in food and desserts is wonderful, really, really wonderful. You get so much flavour with this. And then we've got some blueberries here. These are organic blueberries, and they're the really small ones, which I absolutely love. It's very, very difficult for you guys to see that because it's so dark. It probably looks like I'm just holding up a pot of nothing. No, there are actual little tiny blueberries in there. Okay, so guys, let's start by melting our coconut oil. So I'll just get a little bit of water for this. There we go. I'll just pop it onto our hob here. And as you guys who are regulars will know, this hob is a demon, so it should do this quite quickly. Okay, and whilst that is doing its thing, we can crush these. So you have a couple of options. Either you can use something like this, or you can put them in a bag and use a rolling pin. And that was a method that I used yesterday when I was on the Vegan Society's Instagram. So I did a live recipe with them, and I put some biscuits into, I actually used the bag that the cornflakes come in, because we keep all of those and then reuse them, and then I've just bashed them with a rolling pin, which is a great way to take out your frustration. There we go. Right, okay, so I'm just going to pop these into here. So, as I said, you can use biscuits or cornflakes, anything like this that you want to use. Okay, let's just turn this down. And sorry about the noise, guys. Just open it up and see how it's doing. Okay, so I want it to be a bit finer than that. So the rule is that if these crumbly bits are a bit too big, then the base won't be as solid. So the finer it is, the more solid your base will be. Okay, there we go, it's a bit better. Okay, so that's a bit finer now, and we can just take that blade out. There we go, and we can add our coconut sugar. This. Mix that in. So if you're using biscuits, then you don't need to add the sugar. Actually, because they would probably have they would probably have sugar in already if they're sweet biscuits. You could also use something like oat cakes for this as well. So of course, oat cakes probably won't have any sugar in. You know, if you're just like getting the regular ones, there are oat cakes with sugar in now. So yeah, so if there's no sugar in it, then just pop a little bit of sugar in it. And then we'll just take our coconut oil and we'll pop that in, and then we will put it into this. Okay, so this is a springform cake tin. Springform cake tins are really, really good, really, really useful, but sometimes like the spring on them can go. So, you know, it's worth getting a good one. And then when I am going to cover it with paper, I just cover the base. So this is my reusable baking paper. Let's just turn this off, doesn't need to be on. This is my reusable baking sheet. And you can see I've already used it for cakes. And so I just pop it around the bottom. And this is easier to do just with baking paper, because you don't get so much of like all of this sort of stuff on the bottom. But these things are absolutely brilliant, really, really good. So I think somebody called them my magic carpet, which I think is lovely. Ah, Lisa, thank you for joining us, and don't worry about being late. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so we'll just close this. There we go. And you can just pull it through a bit. There we go. Try and get it as flat as possible. Actually, I'll just make that a bit neater. There we go, that's better. Okay, so we've got a good flat base. I'm really like pushing it down because, as I said, like I've got all of this sort of stuff at the bottom here, and we want this to be as flat as possible, because if it's not, then when we put our tin in the oven, it's going to be at an angle, and then we won't get a nice flat top on our cheesecake. So I'm just pushing it down. There we go. Okay, so now we can add our oil. Mind fingers, a little bit hot. And just mix that in there. So we want this sandy mixture, basically. So I can see, you know, that it's wet enough, that there's enough oil in there. It's going to really glue together very, very well. Okay, so Michelle was asking what is the brand of the induction stovetop. And Anthony, thank you for commenting on that. Yeah, it's Tefal. Would I recommend it? Okay, so if you're in a rush and you like to cook very, very quickly, if you do things like stir fries where you need a high heat, then yes, I would definitely recommend it. If you like to do things at a very low heat, I would say no, because this hob does, it's really, really hot, even at a 1, even at a 3, it goes all the way up to 9, and I don't ever use 8 or 9 anymore, because it's way too hot. So yeah, I think it depends on what you cook, basically. Okay, Justine said I got some silicone ones off Amazon. Oh, good. Colleen said I was going to ask about springform pans. I noticed that when you make cake, you always use a springform pan. Here in the US, the cake tins are solid. Yes, yeah. Let me just bring you guys back here, and we can have a chat about that. So, when I was a chef, my first job as a professional chef was as patisserie chef, and we only had springform cake tins, and I think it just it sped up the whole process, because what you can do with springform cake tins, which I really like, because I'm always in a rush, especially to eat cake, is that, you know, I get it to a point where it is solid enough and it has cooled down just enough for me to be able to run a knife around the edge and then be able to take it out, because then it will speed up the cooling down process. So I really love springform cake tins for that. But as I said, sometimes the springs can go, but you know, there are things that you can do with that as well. You know, there are ways of holding them together with other things in the kitchen, but you know, these ones that I got are really good, and I can always see if I can find the link to this one as well, so that we can find out what make it is. So right, back to our cheesecake. Okay, so I'm just going to get something to really flatten that down with. So, you know, you guys might have a cup, or I'm going to use this glass and really press that down. So the base is quite thin. There we go. And then the cream part will be quite big. So we'll just pop this to one side for a moment. There we go, can go over there, in the corner. Okay, and now we will get on to making our ricotta. So we'll just remove this pan, but I'm going to use that pan a little bit later. And grab this nice big pan. So I recommend that when you are making ricotta, because we may end up scalding the soy milk, that you use something like this, a stainless steel pan, because you may need to use a metal scourer on it. So it's better to use something like, you know, a stainless steel pan where we can comfortably use a scourer on it, rather than a non-stick pan that we can't. Okay, so we've got a litre of soya milk in there, and it does have to be soya milk with this, guys. We can't use other plant milk because we're going to want it to separate. In here we have 2 tablespoons of our apple cider vinegar, or you can use any type of light vinegar. So white vinegar, malt vinegar, white wine vinegar, I think there's even a pale coloured balsamic vinegar, white balsamic vinegar that you can use, anything like that. But yeah, and you can actually also use lemon juice for this as well, because basically we want it to split. So we'll just pop that in. and then we start heating the milk. And so we've got our spoon here at the ready, and we will want to just move it around occasionally, but we do need to allow this to do its thing. So we're just going to leave this on medium heat. There we go, medium heat, to do its thing whilst we make the rest of the cream. Okay, so if anybody's cooking along at home, then please do have a bowl and fine sieve at the ready, because you will need that for this ricotta. So this is going to turn into a soya ricotta. Deborah said, what diameter tin are you using, please? Sorry if you said already. I don't know. I don't know how big it is. I don't know how big it is. Does that help if I put my hand there? But you don't know how big my hands are. I wonder if Jeff, can you bring me a ruler, and then I can measure it. I'll see if Jeff can bring me a ruler. Okay, but if not, I'll measure it and I'll let you know afterwards. Okay, so Justine said, did you add the cornstarch already? No cornstarch. So Justine, in there, all we have is soya milk and the vinegar. That's it. And actually, we'll just add a pinch of salt as well. There we go. So just a pinch of salt, just to bring out the flavours a bit more, and that's it. So basically what we're doing with this is we are making soya ricotta. Yeah? And so the vinegar will split the soya milk. And so, you know, like when... Actually, I'll bring you guys back over here. So, you know, like when you first start making tea, when you're vegan and it all splits and it goes weird and it curdles and it's really, really gross. Basically, that's what we're intentionally doing. So, yummy! It's going to be nice. I promise. So back to here. So now, oh! Jeff found the ruler. It's here. Sorry. Okay, right, I've got the ruler. It was here all along. Okay, so this is just over 6 inches. And in centimetres, that is 15.5 centimetres. So there we go. Okay. So this, I can see that this is already starting to curdle. And I'm just going to turn the temperature down a little bit. I don't want it to scorch the bottom of the pan. And that does happen quite often with soy milk. So when you're making tofu, so I've made like my own soy milk and then made my own tofu, and you do have to be really careful because soya really does scorch the bottom of the pan. Okay, right, okay, so whilst that is doing its thing, we will mix these guys together. Okay, so now first of all, we need to put our cream cheese into our bowl. Okay, so it's 300 grams of cream cheese. So just grab all of that lovely stuff out of there. And today I am using Life. And now get a big, nice fork and we'll beat it to make it more soft. So it can be a bit tough, but we really do need it to get a lot softer than it is, because when it is just from the fridge, it can be a little bit tough. So let's come over here, because I am going to have to bring it to my body and use that position more.
because that's going to give me a bit more purchase. I'm basically pressing against like my body and my hands. So really beat it until it becomes much smoother. There we go. If you guys have any type of, you know, RSI, mobility issues or anything like that, then you can use like an electric blender, an electric whisk, something like that. So yeah, there is that option. There is that option. So you know, like with an electric whisk, you know, we usually have these on the end of it, but then there's another attachment you can use. So use that attachment rather than this one. And I think those things are great for people who have, you know, anything like carpal tunnel or any type of RSI. Really, really useful for you, because, you know, this is a bit tough. This is a bit tough. So, I mean, the other thing that you can do is you can just leave it out of the fridge for an hour or so, just to kind of like warm up, so it's not so tough when you're doing this. Right, there we go. Okay, Colin said, did we ever get the punchline to Khan's joke? He's left you hanging. He's left the audience wanting more. Clever boy. Hopefully he'll come back. Hopefully he'll come back. Okay, so that is absolutely fine. I'm just going to bring it up a little bit, and then hopefully we'll be able to start seeing it actually, you know, really curdling. But it may take about 10 minutes to actually happen, but that's fine because we can get on with the rest of this whilst we're doing that. Okay, so now we've got our cream cheese, and now I'm going to add the icing sugar. You can use syrup, as I said before, so around 160 grams of icing sugar or syrup, but don't use anything that's grainy because it might not melt properly, and we don't want any type of graininess to the cream in the cheesecake. Okay, so with our icing sugar, I'm just going to add it bit by bit. With the syrup, you can just add it all in one. That's absolutely fine. But with the icing sugar, you know what's going to happen with the icing sugar. It's going to go everywhere. And I don't want it to go all over the place. So I'm being very, very delicate with it. Not because the mixture needs me to be. You know, it isn't like when we're folding in sugar into meringues. We don't need to be delicate with it because of that reason. But the reason why I was being delicate with it is because icing sugar can just go everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Same with the corn flour that we're using as well. The cornstarch, that can go everywhere too. So that's the only reason why I'm being super gentle with it. And just give this a mix. So as you can see, it's very, very useful just to have this bubbling away whilst you're doing this bit, rather than just standing here watching that, because that's not going to be very interesting. That's not going to be very interesting at all. Okay, and again, just carefully folding this in, and then once more of it has gone in, then I can speed up a bit. And let me bring you guys back to this view, just so that you can see a little bit better. There we go. Just 2 or 3 spoonfuls of the sugar in there. And this is starting to get much easier to mix, because it's, you know, warming up, and because it's got the sugar in it now as well. It's not just the cream cheese on its own. If you guys are using syrup, then it might get lumpy. It might get lumpy. In which case, just use something like this. Yeah, just use your whisk and try and get rid of those lumps. If you really, really struggle, then just use a hand blender on it. Just use a hand blender on it. So guys, I hope that you can see how this is starting to split. But we want it to be all split. So when we sieve it, we want any of the water that comes from it not to look milky at all. The water that comes from it should look like yellowish water. Yeah, it's gross. It is gross. I'll admit that water does actually look really, really gross. I have also tried to make alcohol from it because I heard that you could do that, and that was disgusting. Anyway, I won't be showing you that. And our last bit of powdered sugar into our bowl. And we can add our lemon zest. There you go. So you can add as little or as much as you want. You guys know that I love sour. So I've got a lot of lemon zest in there. Oh, look at this. Okay, so this is what we want to see happening. It's like a volcano. That's what it ends up becoming like. You know, you see all these like bubbles like coming up from the bottom, and yeah, now it's really splitting. It's really splitting, but you can see, actually, hopefully you guys can see, some of this liquid is still a bit too milky. We don't want it to be milky. So we're almost there. So, you know, do keep an eye on your ricotta while it's doing this, because this you can stop any moment. You can stop absolutely any moment and just get to this. So Justine asked about the vanilla extract, so I think that Justine is using that rather than lemon. So yeah, you can add that now. You can absolutely add that now. Okay. Right, okay, so we've got the last bit of ice and sugar in here, our lemon zest, and then I think I'm going to have to turn this off. There we go. I don't want that spilling over whilst we're doing this. So we've got our lemon zest, the last bit of sugar that we can mix in, and then we'll just add our aquafaba in a second. Okay guys, so I could see that that was like starting to really start to maybe go over the edge. So I just blew on it, which is fine to do if only you were going to eat the food. But you know, if you've got guests coming, don't do that. Oh, George is saying loves overhead view of the ricotta. Good, good, good. It is really useful, especially for things like this, because I could try to describe that to you, but it's going to be hard, right? It is going to be hard. So, right, okay, so now we are adding our aquafaba to the mixture. Here, and this is going to get really watery. That's absolutely fine. It is going to be really liquidy. So if any of you guys have made a frozen cheesecake before, frozen cheesecakes, they tend to be creamier than the baked ones. The baked ones can be very, very liquidy. There we go. And the rest of the aquafaba, you can put it all in one go and mix it in if you want. Okay, and now, Denise said, couldn't you whisk the aquafaba to incorporate more air? Well, you could, absolutely. That is an absolute option. So if you want to try that out, then please do. Please do. And it would be really interesting to see what you guys think of this cheesecake, because I have to admit that I've never had a non-vegan cheesecake in my life. So it would be really interesting for you guys to try it and, you know, tell me, does it taste like a New York cheesecake? Does it taste like a Chicago cheesecake? You know, anything like that. It would be really, really good to know. Okay, so basically, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix in the corn flour or cornstarch into a little bit of this mixture. So I just put some of that, the mixture from there, into my jug here. I'm going to mix in the corn flour and then add it to the rest of the mixture. This is just because it's a lot easier to get the lumps out when it's a small amount. Making a mess. So we just want to make sure that we get all of the lumps out there before we put it into the main mixture. Right, there we go. And then it goes into the bowl. Make sure that we've got all of this stuff out of the jug, because the corn flour, the cornstarch, That's going to help it thicken and set. There we go. So Justine's sent us a shocked face, and Justine is cooking along at home. So I would quite like to know what that shocked face actually means. Okay, so we can set this to one side as well. We'll pop it over here. There we go. And now we'll deal with our ricotta. Okay, so we've got our bowl here with our fine sieve. And we're going to pour our ricotta into the sieve. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. Right. Oh, you'll see, caught. So quite often with soy milk, it really can scorch the bottom of a pan. Okay, and here's our ricotta that we are then going to add to our cheesecake mixture. I actually think that we can get more out of this. Because actually that water can go completely pale, like completely like just like a light yellow colour. So I think after the show I'm going to see if I can get more ricotta out of that. Okay. Right, there we go. And so all we need is now is our ricotta, and we're going to mix it in to our cheesecake base. So our cheesecake cream. Don't worry if it's a bit, lumpy, guys. If you can see bits in it, they will go away once you cook your cheesecake. There you go, and you can just mix it in with a fork. There we go. Just any big lumps I'm getting rid of. But you'll get these like tiny flecks. You see that? You'll get those tiny flecks, and that's absolutely fine. And now we can pour into our base, and I'm just going to make sure that that is as flat as it can get. There we go. And pour this in. It is very liquidy, very, very liquidy. There we go. Okay, guys. So now we need to put this in the oven for around 90 minutes. Around 90 minutes. I know, it feels like an eternity. Okay, so the temperature that you have it on is 140 degrees Celsius, 280 degrees Fahrenheit, gas mark 1. If you're unsure, here we go. If you're unsure about the temperature of your oven, because ovens lie, they lie, then, yeah, I'm talking about you. Then have a thermometer in your oven. So I've got a thermometer in my oven. They only cost something like 4 or 5 quid from Amazon, but I really, really do recommend it, especially if you're thinking about making something like a cheesecake or a meringue. Then you really need to know that your oven is on low. So I'm just going to pop this into the oven for around 90 minutes. Okay, guys, and I put it in the middle of the oven. So you don't want it at the top, you want it in the middle of the oven. So I'm not going to make you guys wait an hour and a half. Don't worry. Don't worry. Of course I've got one. Of course I've got one. Okay, so let me just pop over to the fridge and I will get our cheesecake. Right, here we go, guys. Doug said, just realised you're going to have 2 cheesecakes. Uh-huh. I did say to Jeff this morning, are you ready for cheesecake day? Which is really good. We're quite thrilled about it. So, right, so we still need our hob. That's fine to still have this here because we are going to use it again. Let's just make sure that it is not at an angle. There we go. And so this cheesecake, as I said, in the oven for an hour and a half, and then I let it cool down, and then it went into the fridge overnight. So I actually made this one yesterday. So once it gets to this stage, you know, it's going to be a much more solid. It's going to have these funny little bits on the top though, which I was going to get rid of before the show, and then I realised that they're really nice to eat. So I didn't want to like put them in the bin or anything like that. So, but once it gets to here, this stage, it's nice and cool. It's nice and firm as well. Really, really nice and firm. And then I have this lovely little flat knife that I use for going around the edge of cakes. So just pop it round the edge here, really dig in. We'll give you guys a better view of this. Okay, there we go. Hello. So I'm making sure that this knife goes all the way to the bottom. So we're going to go around the edge of the base as well as the top, as well as the cream bit. Make sure that you can slide your knife all around the edge, and then only then will we unclip it, because what you never want to do is make a cake and then start unclipping this and a crevice appears. Like, that is horrible. It is really, really horrible when that happens. Excuse me a moment. Yum. So you always want to make sure that the sides are clear, you know, that they're not sticking to the side before you open it. And if in doubt, you can always like start opening it really slowly, and then if a crevice does start to appear, then quickly close it back up again, put your knife around it again, and then open it. Okay, so yeah, this is so exciting. There we go. Right, okay. So as I said, you know, we've got all of these bits. There we go. We'll pop them in a bowl there. So we just want to take these bits off. You can do this, you know, with a knife if you want to, but they're soft enough to do with my hands. And to be honest, you know, this isn't the type of dessert that I want. I don't really want it to look perfect. I'm quite happy with it being a bit messy. So if I can take things off my hands, then I will. And just make it look nice and rustic. Okay, right, there we go, guys. And you see how deep that top bit is? Gosh, this is a messy recipe. It is a messy recipe, but it's fun. It's fun. Okay, so Justine said, can you put a decent oven thermometer on Facebook group? Yes, I will. I'll put a link on for the one that I use. Denise says, thank you so much. Looks amazing. We haven't finished yet. Okay, so we need to get this off in a delicate way, and then we'll do the berries to go on top of it. So I've got this, which is, you know, it's really nice and flat and thin, so it's perfect for taking cakes off their base. Now, if you were to have used one of the margarines that I was mentioning before, where it doesn't really solidify, then your base will be crumbly and it will be much harder to get it off the bottom. And you can see, like, it isn't that easy to do. You just want to be really, really delicate, which is difficult for me, especially when it comes to cheesecake, because I'm like, just get on the plate and then I can eat you. So there we go. So just slide it underneath. And if a bit of the paper comes, then that's absolutely fine. Better to have a bit of the paper than it falls apart. There we go. All right. Okay. Okay, and now we just need to heat up our berries. So the reason why we're heating up the berries is because we want a bit of sauce on there. Because, you know, it looks nicer. So we're just going to whack these berries that we've got here in a pan. These are the frozen ones, so they've already defrosted slightly. We're just going to heat them just a tiny bit so that they emit some of their juice. That's all we're doing. Okay, so it can just go on a low heat. There we go, get all of those out. And then we can pop those on. So with this recipe, you can play around with the ingredients. You can put orange zest in the middle. I think Justine, you put vanilla essence in yours. Absolutely fine as well. Absolutely fine to do that. Sorry, I'm just tidying as we're talking. You can also put spices in it. I think like a cinnamon spiced cheesecake would be absolutely lovely. Absolutely lovely. So just let these do their thing and see if there are any questions. Have you guys got any questions for me? Paul said, do you know the brand name of the hob you used today? Okay, so yeah, it's a Tefel. It is a Tefel. Justine said vanilla is you don't like lemons. You don't like lemons, okay. Okay, nutmeg, that's a really, really great idea. Be careful with the nutmeg though. Do be careful with the nutmeg. Doug said best evil laugh. Were you talking about me? Well, I don't know what to say about that. Maybe it was somebody else. Maybe it was somebody else. I don't know. Okay, right. So, guys, these are starting to emit some juice. Just pop the temperature up slightly. And to let you know what will be happening on tomorrow's show. So, tomorrow I'll be making a rhubarb chutney, a spiced rhubarb chutney with fennel in it. So fennel is one of my favourite ingredients, and I think it's like really, really underused. So any way that I can pop it into my diet is a good thing. It's really great for digestion. So I'll be showing you guys how to make a rhubarb chutney with some homemade oatcakes. And I did make the oatcakes a few days ago, and I was going to save some for the here's one I made earlier, but then I ate them all. They're so nice. They're so nice. Okay. Let me just see if there are any more questions from you guys. Justine said, be careful with nutmeg, question mark. Yes. Yes, be careful with nutmeg. So there are a few different spices that I like to be careful with. And nutmeg is definitely one of them because it can be such a strong flavour. But if you love nutmeg, then maybe Justine, you're fine. And you will here on in be called Nutmeg Justine. We should just come up with nicknames for all of you. All of you. Obviously, Colleen is going to be Rainbow Colleen. Don't know why. Doug, the laugh was when you revealed you have 2 cheesecakes. I do. Yeah, tough life. Okay, guys, so let's pop you back to this view so you can have a look at how our berries are getting on. Sorry, it's a bit of a dark view there, just because our berries are dark, but they're emitting their juices now. There we go. So we just want them to come to that. We don't want to like cook them out completely, but we just heated them a bit. That's all. And so now we can just pop some of our lovely berries on top, and I love the combination of blueberry and lemon. Really nice. Really nice. So there we go. Just trying to put them around the middle, leaving the outer edge because I don't want them falling down the sides. Yummy. And actually some of this lovely juice will probably bleed into the cheesecake. There we go. So let's see if we can cut a slice of this and see what it looks like in the middle. Okay, there's a lovely little plate for it, and get a really nice sharp knife for this. So the top is fairly big in comparison to the base. So the cheesecake, the cheese bit, the creamy cheese bit. And that is why it needs to cook for so long. So you can make this recipe. Actually, let's just pop back to this view. You can make this recipe with like a half recipe on top if you don't want it to be so big. Look at that! But I really wanted the top to be big. So as you can see, as I've cut into it, the berry juice has gone down as well. I'm sorry. This is like the one recipe that I cannot resist eating on camera. With all of the other ones, I'm like, yeah, I'll try a bit because that's what you do, and then I'll clean down, and then maybe like half an hour, 45 minutes later, I'll eat what is there, what I've just made on our show. Not today. Not today. I am digging in. Okay, guys. So, Doug said, can't wait to make this, but need to order some cream cheese. Yes, you do need it for this recipe. So, oh my god. Okay. Close up. How yummy is that? It isn't too sweet, and I have to say that because maybe you guys like a bit more sugar than I do, but that's kind of one of the reasons why I like it. It's more what I would say like is a grown-up dessert. It's an adult dessert, so it isn't hugely sweet, but it's really creamy. It's got loads of flavour in there, but it isn't just one of those desserts that is just sugar and that's it. It doesn't have like any other flavours in it. So if you like these more kind of like adult desserts, then this is definitely one for you guys. So thank you for joining me. I'm glad that you guys seem to be loving the recipe that I've made today. I do hope that you try it. It is one of our more not challenging, but there's a bit more to it. There is a bit more to it because obviously you make the ricotta. The ricotta is what adds a lightness to the cheesecake. If you just blend all of those ingredients together without doing the ricotta stage, you will end up with more of a dense cheesecake rather than this lovely light heavenly thing. So Denise has just slided it through the screen. Oh, one day we will be able to do that. So let me just see, Justine, I hope that you're getting on okay, and anybody else who is cooking along at home with us, I hope that you're getting on okay with your recipe. Please do let me know if you make it, and also share pictures. So we love to see pictures of the recipes that you guys are making, so please do share them in our group. So thank you for joining me. Loved having you guys in my kitchen again today, and I will see you tomorrow for another live recipe. So thank you, and have a lovely day.